welcome back to the podcast. Molly and Eric here, and we decided to take a little bit of a backwards look at how we started with real estate, essentially. And it's going to encompass a lot of stuff, but we had a friend reach out and tell us that they thought we seemed like we had all of our crap together and that we were successful and things like that. We just, of course, laughed at the whole notion that we have anything
especially
together.
like when it comes to real estate.
And planned out and like we're organized. So we kind of laugh and we say, every time we made a plan in life, God just looked at us and laughed at us and said, oh, haha, that's so funny that you think you have it all figured out. And we'll touch on a lot of those things. But before we get too far into it, we wanted to talk about our book club.
Yeah.
And we did the first book club with the kids, and it was awesome.
It was good.
It was really good. So I just used ChatGPT to find some questions that would stimulate critical thinking and questions that we could all answer individually. And we read the book, actually we have it right here. We read the book, The Feather Thief. And it's essentially about somebody who stole feathers from a natural history museum to fuel his passion for fly tying
for like fly fishing.
For fly fishing. And so, of course, none of us can really relate to that. Eric probably more so than anybody because you like to fish. But we all thought about like, what are we passionate about and what hobbies do we have and how would we feel if somebody stole something that, was going to be advancing their ability to do something better or whatever it is. And it was a really good discussion.
It was, yeah.
And it was awesome. And it just got me all pumped up to keep going. The next book is the Poisonwood Bible, and it is thick and it is
As
intimidating.
you can see right here, yeah.
It's intimidating, but we're going for it. And so we're going to keep on trucking, but that was a really cool addition to 2026 that we added, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
So let's take it back.
Yeah, we wanted to dive into our first house that we ever purchased because it wasn't necessarily like an official start in a real estate journey where it's like we were going to be real estate investors or, it was like a huge game plan.
You weren't as into real estate as you are now. Back then, we were just young, had a young family, and we were looking for our first place to buy.
Yeah, so there's a lot of backstories with our first real estate purchase, our first house, and so we thought it would be a good story to dive into, and we can get into that.
Hopefully you can avoid some of the mistakes that we made.
Yeah.
So let's just start off. Eric and I have moved a lot. We've talked about it. We met in Virginia Beach. We moved to Boston. We were living in Tampa. We had our son Ethan, and we decided to move to Michigan. Eric had graduated from college. I had already been graduated. We had Ethan. We moved to Michigan. We were living with your parents. We moved there in August
of 2003.
We were living in his parents' house.
Newly married.
We got married in October of 2003 and went home to his parents' house and lived with them. So while we were doing that, we were house hunting. We were going to open houses, but really just kind of like, we don't know, because we were young.
Yeah, it was more of just like we need to find a place to live and raise our son because we are living with my parents, like the next bedroom over. And it was just
we were ready.
It was a time where we just wanted to get out and do something.
To feel like we were ready to start our lives. And so we went and we were looking at open houses, and we found the house that we really liked. We didn't have a realtor. We ended up having met a realtor at a previous open house that we really liked. We just thought he was cool. And so when we found the house that we wanted to put an offer in, we just called him and said, hey, we found this house. We want to put an offer in on it. And of course, he was super happy to get that call because that's commission for him.
We were clueless. Like we had no knowledge of pre-approvals, interest rates,
not a dang thing.
Down payment. Like we had zero knowledge on real estate. Like everything was brand new, and all our really focus is how do I buy a house? How do I get what do I have to do to buy a house so I can just move in? Like that was basically like all we knew and what we wanted to know. And luckily at that time, it was kind of easy to get into a house.
It was super easy, and there's a reason why it was super easy.
Yeah.
We found a house in Michigan in 2000, it would have been, we closed in 2004, January of 2004. We found a house for $159,000.
Yep.
An adorable house. It's one of my favorite houses that we've ever lived in, and if I could pick it up and move it with us, I would. I love that house. There's just something about it. I don't know if it was because it was our first house. It had a basement. I've never had a basement since then. I just really loved there was an old historic portion of it. There's just some cool stuff about the house that I really liked, and I wish, it was something that we could
Yeah, it was a cute little
take with us.
kind of bungalow style. It was built in 1900, so it was within the historic district. You could walk down to the downtown area.
We were across from a park.
Yeah, in a
school.
Elementary school.
Yeah, so we had a good area. But the same day that we closed on the house is the same day that we found out Ethan had cancer. So that was a freaking kick in the gut. Just like I said, God says, oh, you think you have a plan? Let me just throw a wrench into that for you. So we both had to take turns leaving the hospital, leaving our kid in the hospital to go sign this paperwork. And, now being much older and wiser, I would have probably been like, keep our freaking escrow money. Yeah. I can't deal with this right now. But, you just don't even know you have those choices at that time.
Yeah, and
you're so completely like, what in the heck is going on? And, that journey is a story for another day. But that's a big part of our buying this house. Like for us, it's a big kind of thing for us that we had to go and leave the hospital take turns so that somebody was with Ethan to go sign our closing paperwork.
It was the actual day he was diagnosed, wasn't it?
It was the actual day he was diagnosed.
So, I mean...
January 30th.
It's even hard to, explain what your thoughts are. And, we'll get into this on a whole separate episode on what that was like.
Right.
But, it was such a whirlwind of a day, and it was just weird that, we're there both with him and my mom and my aunt, and people are there because we're in complete shock.
We didn't know what was going on with him. We signed for the house in the morning, and then that afternoon we find out.
So, you think like a closing day on your very first house after you got married would be this big celebration, and I don't even remember signing the papers. I don't remember hardly anything, and I'm sure the people were wondering why we were coming one at a time and why we weren't celebrating, but it was like, let's just get this over with and we'll deal with this on another time, but let's just get it done and we'll move on.
And we did.
Yeah.
So just going into it a little bit, we did also, this was back when we were able to get an ARM loan. And if you want to explain what that is. So, because do they even do them anymore? Because
they do. They're actually starting to come back a little bit now.
Don't do it.
So, I know when we throw out prices, like we bought a house for $159,000, you're like, oh my God, I would kill to be able to do that.
Right.
You have to remember this is 2004. This is when those crazy loans were going out, those crazy approvals for people that wanted to buy a house that caused the 2008 crash. Right. And so
we were part of that.
We were one of those statistics, and we'll get into how we followed through with that statistic for the crash. But I was working as a line cook at Outback Steakhouse. And Molly was waiting tables probably 2, maybe 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
I think I was making $17 an hour at the time. That was our only income that we could actually go off of because it was actually through a W-2 because you were waiting tables.
Right.
So imagine we got approved, I think probably up to $200,000 at the time.
Yeah.
Off me working as a cook, making bloomin' onions at Outback Steakhouse, making $17 an hour. And it was on a 3-year ARM. I don't even know what the interest rate was when we started. I don't remember what it ended up moving up to.
So an ARM is basically you get a rate.
It's an adjustable rate mortgage.
For 3 years, and it's a good rate. But that after that 3 years is up, now your
usually
rate
it'll
balloons.
Balloon or it'll increase every year depending on how the ARM is.
And now you owe more after that 3 years, and
Right.
It's a little bit of an oh crap moment because you're like, oh, I'm good. Our mortgage payment, we were trying to figure it out the other day. It was around $700.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I know it seems like, oh my gosh, we would kill to have a mortgage payment at $700. But even then, you were working at Outback and then eventually got a job at the jail. And I stayed at Outback as a server. Like I didn't really work because we had Ethan and then we eventually had Charlotte in that same house. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we were like, okay, we can make it work. But at the end of the day, it was
still a lot back then, you know, because you got to think about making $17 an hour. You're not bringing home very much, and you've got a kid with cancer on top of that you're trying to pay the bills and do all these extra trips and everything else, and you know, it was a crazy time.
It was definitely crazy. So the arm thing was definitely a weird situation, but being young and naive, we listened to our realtor and Rocket Mortgage that were like, oh yeah, we'll get you qualified. We'll do all the things, because they were just selling mortgages and they were super excited to get anybody that could qualify, and everybody was qualifying back then.
Yep.
So that's kind of our first thing. And we'll talk a little bit about this house. Like we said, it was in the historic district kind of area in Michigan, and we were really close to the downtown. Part of our house was historic. There was a little addition on the back. Mm-hmm. When we got the house, the basement wasn't finished. The windows were so old you could barely even open them.
They were probably original from.
They were probably original, and it's probably a sin that we replaced them. But all I could think about was like safety and the fact that when it was cold, it went right through those windows. It was freezing.
There was you couldn't, drafts coming through and couldn't fully close them, and they needed to be replaced. So there was no way around that.
We got air conditioning in the house.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we did. We put some money into it, like built a deck, little things like that. And the goal was, our thought was, you know, we're going to be here a while and we want to make this house our home and we want to improve it. Not necessarily even thinking like we're putting equity into the house. We're just thinking we're improving it for us to live here and make it as functional as possible for us.
Right. Because I didn't even own a toolkit back then. I had never done anything.
Thank God for John Greenwald. Yeah. Eric's dad was the best.
Yeah, my mom and dad lived just a couple of miles away, so they were able to help, and my cousin was there who was also a contractor.
Was a big help.
So he was able to help out.
But John was awesome, and he would come over. Literally, I remember one time I set a mousetrap. Your dad set the mousetrap. I did not set the mousetrap. Your dad set a mousetrap, and he left, and it was in the evening, and Ethan was already in bed. It was probably like 7 or 8 at night. Your dad left. When he got home, I had already called Rhonda and said, the mousetrap already went off. You have to send John back, because there was no way I was going to look in the closet where he set it to see if there was a mouse in there, and he came over because you were working. Yeah. So John was just such a go-to for us for everything. Let us borrow the snow blower when the snow would be bad. Like, we lived on a corner. It was trafficky. So while the house, we loved it, and I loved that house, there was definitely some things that weren't as ideal about it too.
Yeah, like it didn't have a garage. It didn't have really much of a yard. It was kind of on a triangle lot, and we had 2 busy streets on either side. We had a gas station right across the street, and
once you started working for the jail, Eric would see people that frequented in the jail walking past our house. Yeah. So that was always like, oh,
yeah, you would get the homeless people, and like I said, the people that I managed in the jail, the inmates, I would see them walking by the house, and when they got to know where I live, like that was just a weird feeling.
That is weird. And then one time I had these rando people, because we were on the corner, just come and start sitting on my front steps and start unpacking their car, and they had all this like stuff in the car. It was just the weirdest things would happen because we were kind of in a public area.
Yeah.
It was, but very entertaining for Ethan as a toddler to be able to look out the windows and see everything going by and everything happening.
Yeah. It was a good first house. It probably wouldn't have been something that we would have stayed in too long, just size wise, and then as our family grew.
Right. It was perfect for what we had. It really was, and it was the first home. We brought Charlotte home too, but we then decided after 4 years of living there, we were going to move to Arizona.
Right.
And this is where we start to realize we're in a really crappy situation. The ARM at this point had kicked in, and now our interest rate is higher. Our payment is getting higher, and we try to list the house to sell it. And this was in 2007.
Yes.
The beginning of 2007, we decided we're moving to Arizona. We wanted to come out. My sister Maggie was out there. Your brother Brent was closer in California. We kind of wanted to experience that Southwest, West Coast living, do something completely different. And you were working in the jail, and there was an opportunity for you to work on the road as a police officer on the road.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, okay, we're going to take this leap of faith and we're going to go. And it was great, except for we couldn't sell the house.
Yeah, you got to remember, like 2007, this is right before the 2008 crash. Things were already happening in Michigan. You could see, a lot of the large auto manufacturers were starting to close. The real estate was really...
They were laying people off, so like people weren't working as frequently.
Yeah, and I mean, there really weren't a lot of job opportunities. And so that was why one of the reasons I was looking to go to a different police department, because there really wasn't any opportunities for me to go work for a department out on the road in Michigan.
Right.
So we kind of made that decision that, we're going to move to where we can have better job opportunities and kind of maybe plant ourselves somewhere where we're going to raise our kids and be in an area long term.
Yeah, and that was a big part of it too, is we were like, okay, Ethan's about to start kindergarten. Where do we want to be for schools? And we just kind of knew where we were probably wasn't where we wanted to stay. And so we started exploring, and we ended up in Flagstaff. But because we couldn't sell the house, I think we decided in like June, we were like, we're going to have to rent. And so we were really lucky because we were very close to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is the university.
Let's talk about real quick.
Go for it.
We bought the house for $159,000. We put all new windows in. We put central air in. We finished the basement. We built a porch on. We did other smaller, new carpeting, I think, in some of the rooms.
Yeah.
And so when we went to list it in 2007, 3 years, a little over 3 years after we bought the house, we listed it for the same exact price that we bought it for. So that was the first eye opener of,
holy crap.
Like, we're not going to make any money from, we're going to lose money from this. So that was kind of, I think, the first eye opener for us in terms of what real estate can and cannot do. And so we're like, man, we probably put $30,000 into this house
and
on
where
our own.
Is it? Yeah.
And we're not only are we not going to get any money back, we're likely going to lose money. And how are we supposed to buy our next house? Because it's kind of the traditional, you move up in house and you make a little money and you move up and buy another house. And
now we're starting at the bottom again.
Yeah. So that was the first clue of
this might be
what did
a
we
disaster.
Get into? Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. So we were lucky enough to be so close to Ann Arbor that we were able to rent it out. And we were really lucky. We were able to rent it to somebody that was just starting his PhD program and his girlfriend who got a job at the U of M. And so we were so lucky. They were the only renters we had for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And we lost a little bit of money every month.
I think we lost $100 a month renting it out. So that was another,
little bit of a
hole
loss.
In the boat type moment,
We were like, crap. But, at the time, you're just thinking to yourself, well, there's nothing else I can do. I mean, I can't keep it on the market and keep it empty. I have to rent it, and I have to do this to make it work.
Or if we really would have lowered it to where we would have sold it, we would have had to come with money at closing.
Which we didn't have.
No
way.
Yeah.
No money. Yeah, no way. This house, as much as we liked it, we essentially rented it out at a loss. We eventually moved to Arizona in July of 2007.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole nother story about buying a house in Arizona, but we had to rent for a year. We rented for a year and lived with my mom, Kim, in a rental, and were able to save money, start to know the area a little bit better. This is where I felt like we became a little bit smarter, because we really started thinking, where do we want to be long term? We're going to look for a place where we are going to live the whole time we're here. We're not looking for a place that is on a busy street corner. We're going to be very intentional about what we want out of a house.
Yeah. And so when we moved there in 2007, we rented for our first year there because we didn't know where we wanted to live or didn't have any money to buy anything.
Right.
But so when we got within that year, almost that full year of that first rental, that's when we thought, all right, thinking of buying another house because we didn't want to keep renting. And I think we obviously became more educated with real estate because of our situation that we went through. But also that's right when all the national talk started happening because, now we're in the spring, late or early summer of 2008. So that's when, everyone's talking about mortgages and loans and home prices. And,
right.
That was the real kickoff to where I think a lot of people really kind of started paying attention to real estate that normally wouldn't unless you were involved in real estate.
Yeah. Which was us. So we ended up buying a house in a good neighborhood that we stayed in that house the entire time we lived in Arizona after that 1 year of rental. And we bought the house for $310,000, and the gentleman who sold it to us had bought it for $310,000, I think 6 years before, 4 years before.
I think it was 4 or 2, like somewhere. It wasn't
a couple years.
I think he bought it because he wanted to flip it because he was a realtor too.
Yeah.
And then I think he also saw the writing on the wall, like, I got to get rid of this.
Yeah.
And he's probably had to come with money.
Right.
To the sale,
and I remember
to
too, we were going somewhere, we were in the airport, and we offered 310. I don't know, maybe it was listed a little bit more. We offered 310, and he came back and said no. He countered, and then we backed out. We said, all right, we're not going to do it. And then he came back to us and was like, okay, I'll sell it to you for 310. Because so we kind of were like, we stuck to our guns on that and said, you know what, 310's pushing it for us.
Well, I mean, I remember distinctly when we bought that house in Flagstaff for $310,000 that I never thought that I would ever buy a house that expensive.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's how, far we were reaching with these prices, and so it kind of goes back.
And what you qualify for, again, going back to, you're a police officer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
working in an office and doing marketing for like a healthcare community health center.
I think combined we probably made 100,000.
Yeah, maybe 110 if we were lucky.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, we're gonna just take this mortgage on. And I
remember being so scared when we signed for that mortgage because, again, like growing up in Michigan, prices aren't that expensive. You can find cheap housing, and in Flagstaff there is no cheap housing.
There's there's nothing.
So I think part of the reason we're telling this story is because we just kind of fell into it without really knowing what we were doing. We completely crashed on our first purchase, but yet we were making all of these reaches and risks at the same time because we knew what we wanted, you know?
Absolutely. And we just decided, again, we took time to think about it ahead of time to say, where do we want to stay so that we know we can get better jobs, we can continue to grow in our careers, and our mortgage is still going to be 310, right? Like we're gonna stay there, and we're gonna just.
And I think our interest rate was like 8% at that time.
No,
it was high.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think you're on crack. I think it was like maybe in the 5s or 6s. But then we did what everybody did and refinanced it.
Well, we refinanced that thing multiple times. When we bought this house in Flagstaff, we still owned that house in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
We were still renting it with a $100 loss every month. And so we did have to be a little bit strategic to buy the house in Flagstaff.
Yes.
We knew at that point when we wanted to buy that house in Flagstaff that our house in Michigan is just, the value of it is plummeting.
Right.
And there's no way that we are going to even be able to sell that thing for the $159,000 that we bought it for, or that we had been asking for the past 6 months before we took it off the market. So we knew that we were likely headed towards having to stop paying our mortgage payment on that house in Michigan, and hopefully be able to do a short sale, or we're going to have to foreclose on it. So our thought was, which sounds kind of crazy, let's buy this house that we can barely afford in Flagstaff while we have this other house that's just
a rental.
Bottoming out. Yeah.
Right.
And, but we knew if we were to stop the payment on the Michigan house prior to buying another house, that our credit would be shot. We would never, we
wouldn't be able to get into a house.
it would take years for us to be able to buy another house.
So we didn't stop payment on the Michigan house. So we decided to go the foreclosure route. Like we decided we were going to stop payment on the Michigan house. And that is the worst feeling because you feel like such an asshole. I felt like such a jerk.
Yeah.
Because it was like, what do I do? I'm in this really crappy situation. And so the renters, I think they were there a total of 3 years. And in the last couple of months, when they'd given us their notice, we were like, okay, we're going to stop payment on this.
Right.
And it just felt wrong to not pay for that mortgage.
Yeah, and especially too because it was our first house, you know, and we loved that house, like, you know, and we brought Charlotte home to that house, and you know, we had.
Are we gonna get in legal trouble that we're talking about the fact that we had money and we chose not to pay the mortgage? Is there like a statute of limitations? We're gonna have to look that up.
We're fine.
Okay, it was Eric's idea. I was just along for the ride.
Yeah, so you know, making that decision, it was a tough decision. It really was because we're like, all right, we're doing this, and I think. Again, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say like we knew at that time that the value of that house was probably like around $90,000.
No way.
Yeah.
No, it had to. It was more than that. I need to look up what it sold for because I think it sold for close to what we bought it for.
I think no. It was like in the 80s.
No way.
The next episode we'll look that up, and
we'll put it in the bottom here and tell you what it sold for. You might be right, but I thought it was
even if it was 20,000 less, we still didn't have 20,000 to come to the closing table to sell the house. So many millions of people are going the foreclosure route, the short sale route.
Why we were really doing our research on like what our options were, and we were seeing like article after article of people just walking away from their homes.
Yeah.
But you still have this feeling of you took on this responsibility and you're a big fat jerk for walking away.
And because we decided to move away from there.
Right.
Had we lived in that house, even if the value would have gone down, we still would have been able to afford the monthly mortgage. And so it was our decision to move to Arizona that really kind of put us more in this bind than if we've just stayed.
Right. But also the jerks are the people that gave you and me a mortgage when we were making $17 an hour combined. I mean, there is some blame to go back to that too. But still, it's a crappy feeling to feel like you're just a jerk.
Yeah. So luckily our realtor was very skilled in short sales because there were so many short sales and foreclosures that were happening, especially in and around Michigan where we were at, that he was able to guide us along the way and kind of tell us what to do and what to expect. And so we did. We stopped payment on it. Eventually the mortgage company contacted us and we requested a short sale.
Yep.
They agreed upon allowing a short sale to happen with no recourse, so we didn't have to come up with the difference. And again, I mean, I think they were just bleeding so many mortgages at that time that they were like, we'll take anything that we can get. You know, we'll rather take a short sale than a complete foreclosure. And I don't remember exactly when that house sold as a foreclosure. I want to say...
No idea.
Either late 2008 or early 2009.
I think it was closer to 2009. I feel like we were in the house in Arizona for like a year before we decided to like
I would agree.
Stop.
Yeah, so it'd be the summer of 2009.
Yeah, but yeah.
And not only that, the house that we bought in Flagstaff, again, we bought right in June of 2008. So here we are a year later dealing with this foreclosure short sale in Michigan.
And the value of our house in Flagstaff has dropped $40,000 or $50,000.
Yeah, I mean, felt like the biggest idiot when it came to buying houses and real estate.
We thought we had the worst luck. We're like, God says you have a plan, and
Yeah.
I'm going to laugh in your face.
Yeah, and you kind of think you just fall in that regular routine or system like everyone else. You buy a house, you make a little bit of money, you move up. And I remember being so jealous of your sister and my brother, who were both in California at the time or during this time.
Yes.
And they're selling their houses, making, 100,000, 200,000, buying another one. And it's just like,
and we're like, what the heck?
what are we doing wrong?
Why are we so stupid? Like, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
what in the heck is
Yeah.
happening right now?
So we ended up able to do a short sale, got that off of our books. Obviously, that took a hit on our credit.
For a while,
what is it?
7 years.
7 years or something like that. It's really hard to get another mortgage, but luckily we had our house.
We didn't need another
and we were
mortgage.
staying. We were not going to be moving
We were good.
we couldn't afford it. Slowly wrap things up. Looking at this first purchase, again, we didn't have any education or intentions of,
real estate
being
moguls.
involved in real estate in any way. Never thought of, having a rental, never thought of an investment property. We just wanted a house to get out of my parents' house because we had just got married and started a family.
We wanted our own space for sure.
Right. With that house, we lost our initial down payment. Every mortgage payment that we made and built equity, we lost all that.
Yep.
All the improvements, we lost all that money. And then when we
took a
sold
hit on
it,
the credit.
yeah, when we sold it as a short sale, I think we still had to come up with a couple of $1,000s for closing costs.
I don't think we did. I feel like we just kind
I feel
of
like
were
we probably should have researched all this a little bit better.
bye, take this house,
Yeah,
shove it. I
but-
don't want anything to do with it.
We took $100 loss for all the times that we rented it. So this was a huge financial loss and burden for us. A lot of stress.
Error.
Yeah.
A big error. But a learning lesson. And like we're kind of helping our son Ethan now go through possibly purchasing a house.
Mm-hmm.
And it just all comes flooding back to you like, oh my gosh, don't make any of the same mistakes we made. First of all, we would never let him get an arm.
Right.
Second of all, there's just so many things that we learned and that we are imparting to him to make sure that he makes smarter choices and make sure that he gets a house that is going to build equity and is going to be a smart investment for him.
Right. And looking at today's market or, talk in the media, everyone's talking how hard it is to afford a house and it is. But there's a reason for that. I mean, yeah, it sounds nice. Oh, I wish I could get a house only making $17 an hour. But there's a reason why they don't do that anymore is because it completely...
Where are the examples?
Right.
Why?
It completely crashed our economy and, devastated a lot of lives. And so, yeah, the banks are going to make it a lot harder for people to qualify for a house these days because we can't go through that again.
Right.
We shouldn't put people in those situations. And, it's hard to compare yourself to people, right? I mean, we do a lot of comparisons, especially now with social media. And,
oh my gosh.
I think a lot of the millennials are looking at the Gen
X?
Gen X.
That's us.
No, I'm not the Gen X, the boomers.
The boomers.
Everyone's blaming
Those are
the
older
boomers.
That's our parents.
Yeah. So everyone's blaming the boomers because they're sitting on these houses that
they bought for $50,000
right.
or even $100,000.
And so it's hard to not compare yourself to people who have kind of been through a lot, and the amount of sacrifices that people make and a lot of sacrifices that we made. I mean, we worked so hard to be able to afford that Flagstaff house.
Yeah.
And, we probably pushed ourselves a little bit too far financially.
Yeah, for sure.
In the situation that we were at. I mean, eventually it worked out for us, but it might not have.
Right.
And so when you're looking and comparing to other people, you have to realize some of the things that they've gone through. And, a lot of people do make mistakes or have a lot of hardships that...
It's never a straight line. It's always a zigzag.
And that, time, for the most part, can heal those mistakes.
True. Yeah, I feel like you were going somewhere with the boomer thing, and it's like it's easy to be mad at the boomers, and it's easy to be frustrated because our kids today just have such an uphill battle when it comes to buying a house. They can't save as much money. There's so many more obstacles in the way when it comes to buying a house. And so it's nice that we can say, oh, it's the boomers' fault, but it's beyond that. Don't you think too, though? It's not just the fact that boomers are sitting on houses.
I could talk about that. I think that's a whole nother episode that I could talk about for a long time.
About the boomers, or?
No, just about people spending and budgeting and all of that on top of it too. And I think a lot of, with social media, with the generation now that should be buying houses, you know, that are in their late 20s and their early 30s, they grew up too. They grew up with social media. So they've been comparing since they were little. Like we didn't have that, and we didn't really compare ourselves. We didn't get flooded with all this different information.
People have always been keeping up with the Joneses, though. That's been around forever, where your neighbor gets a new car and you're like, oh, you're kind of jealous about that. So I don't know that that's a new thing necessarily.
No, but I just kind of feel that a lot of people from the beginning want to step into where the people that are like us in our late 40s are already at.
Right. Like we're working with Ethan, our kid, to be like, yeah, you might need to get a townhouse, or you might have to get somewhere a little bit further outside of town that's not on the beach, because guess what? You don't have the same amount of money as us. Yeah. You don't have the same amount of, resources that we have. You're not a dual income. You're one single person. So there is a difference between what people want and what they're willing to sacrifice to get.
Yeah, I think you try to stay within your means financially. Buy the house that needs some work. Yeah. Buy the house that's a bedroom too small, because not every person or every child necessarily needs their own bedroom in your first house. Yeah. That's just the way it is. You look at, the 80s and the 90s, where a lot of, how even some of us grew up, where, everyone didn't have all this extra space in a home office and a 2-car garage. And, you gotta do what you can do, and let that be good enough, because once it's yours, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to have pride in it.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But you're not necessarily going to have exactly what you want all the time. And so I think that's kind of where we're kind of wrapping this up with, like, a lot of the comparisons, because that's how we started, right? Like, Someone said, oh my God, like, you guys have been so good in real estate, and
we're like, clearly you have no idea.
Clearly we certainly didn't start that way.
No, we definitely started with a dud.
We've definitely had some real estate purchases and properties that worked out really well for us, but it's definitely not been like this perfect adventure for us.
It hasn't been smooth sailing. There's definitely been some hurricanes and what's it called? Topsy-turvy. What's it called when you overflip your boat? What's that word? What's it called? Capsizing. Oh. Right?
Sure.
I would say that our first house capsized because we had to foreclose on it.
I would say it sank like the Titanic, is what I would say. Do you want to do the the wheel thing?
Hey Siri, can you pick a number 1 through 9? 3. I was going to say she's not as smart as Alexa. All right, let's see what number 3 is. So this is the wheel of what the heck. All right.
The non-wheel.
The non-wheel. Where's my wheel?
I'm working on it.
Ooh, you're going to love this one. Last purchase you made. Okay,
well, we just went grocery shopping together.
We went
to Costco.
What's the last purchase you made before that? I just got mine in the mail today, and I ordered it yesterday.
Even as something as little as food or something, or are we talking about a product?
What's the last purchase you made that you were not physically with me, sitting?
I got gas for my truck yesterday.
No, you got gas today.
Oh yeah, that wasn't yesterday.
Okay, I can tell you mine, and it's the dumbest thing ever, but it was like $5. They are these these little spatulas that you can put in your makeup products to get all the rest of the makeup and stuff out. Like all of the stuff that stays in the bottom of your containers.
Really?
Yes, it's $5. It's great because think of how much stuff you leave in the bottom of your...
Use your pinky.
No, my pinky doesn't fit in there. You need to get a spatula and you need to pull it out. Don't tell me. Go get one of my bottles. Just think of my lotions. There's tons of lotion left in there. If you don't cut it open and get it out, you lose it all.
I don't even know what my last purchase was. I'm trying to think. It was probably food because I'm a fat boy.
You are not a fat boy. All right, hold on.
Last thing I bought, man, this is going to... Oh, I know. My new headphones.
That's the last thing you bought?
Yeah.
Okay, that's like a product. Do you think it was food, though? Do you think you...
It was 100% food.
Why does it want me to review everything?
So story about my headphones. I like the big ones, like kind of Beats, but I won't buy Beats because I'm cheap. I had them on my workout bag, and I was pulling my workout bag out of my truck, and I shut the door at the same time, and I heard this crunch, and that crunch was my headphones, and it ripped one of the earphones off. And so, of course, you can't work out without headphones or music.
Please post a picture of you.
So the one was still connected. It would still work. So I worked out that day at the gym with my headphones on with only one earphone. And the other one was just kind of broken off right here. I looked like I worked in a drive-through. But I don't know. No one really laughed at me when I was at the gym.
I'm sure they were laughing at you. They just turned around and started laughing.
Yeah.
We're going to post a picture.
Got to make it happen.
All right. All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.